everyone. Welcome to this session, which is all about international collaboration. My name's Sarah Blowers, and I'm the director of the Co-Creating Change Network at Battersea Arts Centre. And one of the things that we wanted to do within this festival was to commission two arts organisations to collaborate internationally and have a series of conversations around what co-creation meant to them. So I'm delighted to hand over to Jade and Amy from Doorstep Arts and John Namai from Kenya and talk about how that collaboration went. I'm going to disappear, but I will still be here. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. And just want to say we want to have quite a relaxed session. I know that obviously it's not Zoom and we can't see everybody, but if you have anything you want to say, pop it in the chat and we'll be keeping an eye on it. We're going to introduce ourselves and John's going to tell us a story, and then we're going to watch a film about the process so far. And then we're going to kind of look and talk about plans for the future, and then have the last kind of 15 minutes as a Q&A if there are any. But anything that you want, put it in the chat function rather than the Q&A so I can keep an eye on it. So I'll start first by just introducing myself. So my name's Jade Campbell. I'm the co-director of Doorstep Arts. And we have been working on this project for just a couple of months now. But actually, John and I have been in contact for quite a long time, but I'll come back to that in a minute, and I'll hand over to Amy to introduce herself.
Thanks, Jade. Hi, I'm Amy. I'm a freelance emerging artist, theatre maker and facilitator, and I work with Jade at Doorstep Arts as one of their associate artists, and I have since I graduated from Exeter Uni doing a drama degree in 2020. So I've been working with them ever since, and I've been working with Jade and John on this project sort of as a digital specialist, put together the film we're going to see today, but also just working with Jade, talking about how we co-create change in our communities. So yeah, I'll pass over to John.
Thank you. My name is John Namai, and I'm fondly known as Titi. I'm a storyteller, professional storyteller, working with an arts organization called Zamaleo. Zamaleo is a coinage of two Swahili words, Zamani na Leo, which is a long time ago and today. So we normally use stories to solve contemporary social challenges and have fun with the young people. I work predominantly in a neighborhood called Isili, is where we have Somali community, and that's where we co-create change in Nairobi.
Brilliant. Yeah, just to give you a bit of context, I want to tell you how John and I met. So my partner is a nurse, and about 4 years ago, he went to Kenya to help set up a hospital there with a organization called Future Health Africa. And he went along with one of the surgeons, and her name is Veronica Comboy. And Veronica is not only an orthopedic surgeon, but an incredible storyteller. And she went along and did some story exchanges in the village that they were staying in. And they told me the story that they also set up some a project called Team Talks, where they taught rugby to boys and girls to start conversations about how important education is and to try and keep the girls in education. And what happened was they found a massive change and the girls were staying in education. And so I was having a conversation with Veronica about how you can use story to make change. And we were talking about linking up with some storytellers in Africa. And she introduced me to John. And so we've been in lots of conversations. And so this international commission came up and we were like, this is the one. With this can give us some time, pay us some time to talk. So that's been really great because we've had this opportunity to kind of really get to know each other. But before we go on and show the film, John's got a story to tell us.
Okay. Here we call a story hadithi. So say hadithi. Because I normally do participatory storytelling. So a story is hadithi. And when we call a story, we say hadithi, hadithi, hadithi njo. So Amy and Jade, you can say hadithi njo. Hadithi, hadithi.
Hadithi, hadithi.
Hadithi.
Hadithi njo, which means story, come. So let's go again. Hadithi, hadithi.
Hadithi, hadithi.
Hadithi.
Hadithi njo.
Hadithi njo.
Njo. The creator was going through the human world. His face shone so brightly that nobody could be able to see his face. And in his arms, he carried a huge basket of languages. He was dishing out languages to the human people. He went to UK, to Torbay and Pennington, and he gave the Torbays their language. He walked to Germany, gave the Germans their language. He walked down to Africa. To North Africa, he gave the North Africans their language. He walked down to the Rift Valley, where Kenya is, and because he had so many languages, he decided to dump the languages there. So one village spoke one language, another village spoke another language, one island spoke one language, and another island spoke another language. Nobody could collaborate, nobody could create change. And before the creator went up to the sky, he made the sky low, that tall people like Jade would bump their heads onto the sky. And some people will jump into the sky before it was their time. And this could not be allowed. So the people decided to come together, and they called all the chiefs, and they decided to learn one word. If only they could learn one word, they could be able to push up the sky. So all the chiefs from Torbay, from North Africa, from all over the world assembled together to solve this solution. And the chiefs learned one word, and the word was Yahao. Let's say Yahao.
Yahao.
Yahao. And everybody learned the word Yahao. And the chiefs went back to their people and told the people to make long poles to push up the sky. So, and they shouted Yahao. So everybody with our long poles, we hold a long pole and we push up the sky. Let's go. Yahao.
How?
No.
Yahao. It went up, but it didn't went so far because some people were not pushing. So everybody again, let's push. Yahao.
Yahao.
No.
Yahao. Yeah, the sky went up, but not that far. So everybody, shoulders and our backs together. Let's co-create change. Let's push the sky up. And they went at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Yahoo! Yes. And the sky went up until where it is today. Because they had learned one word, because they had collaborated, and because they had collaborated and co-created change. So all we need is to learn one word and to collaborate and co-create change, just the way co-creating change is bringing us together to collaborate and co-create change. Yahoo! Oh, thank you.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
I think we're going to have the film now.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of an intro for it just to put it into some context. As Jade was saying, obviously, in the last few months, as part of this international commission, young people and staff at Doorstep and Zamaleo Act have basically begun an online sort of cultural exchange and a sharing of professional practice and a sharing of creative techniques and sort of how we co-create change in our communities. I've just seen in the chat, John, as well, someone said thank you. So thank you, Jay, as well.
Oh, welcome, James.
So yeah, this film will sort of go into a little bit more detail about this and what we've been up to, and show a little bit of the content and the footage that we've captured of what we've been up to and the observations that we've been doing, and some of our conversations that we've had about co-creating change and what that observation has been like and what we found interesting. I think it's important to mention that we're still in a process, so we're only sort of very much halfway through. We have a lot more work to do together, a lot more conversations to have, and a lot more thinking about how we can actually begin to co-create change together as a collaboration. But what we've had so far is time to help us learn each other's ways rather than rushing into collaborating, which is something you don't always get, and we've really valued having the time to sort of get to know each other's organisations and starting to actually understand how we co-create change in our communities. So hopefully I think some of the film captures that, and we'll explain that a little bit further. But yeah, basically it's about 15 minutes long, and it sort of captures what we've found interesting about the process so far and what we've learned. So yes, whenever it's ready, I believe someone will play the film for us. And feel free to pop some questions in the chat for us.
Hi, my name is Jiras. That's a friendship Kenyan song. Rafiki means friend in our language.
Tic tac toe, give me a high, give me a low, give me a 3 in a row.
Hi, I'm Ivy and I live in Torquay. I'm 12 years old and I live in Torquay because it's really close to the beach.
For the last year, community arts organisation Doorstep Arts, based in Torbay in the UK, have been in an ongoing conversation with John Namai, a Nairobi-based storyteller working predominantly with children and young people as a participatory storyteller, mentor and facilitator.
And because the audiences are like seeing them walk down the street and they're saying, why are you doing this? What are you doing? And then you have a conversation with anyone in the street about, did you know that that it's going to flood here and that the sea level is going to rise? So it's using art to start those conversations with members of the public.
So it's an inroad whereby we come with stories to the community and start a discussion like they see the story and they try to relate to what the member of parliament is doing with the resources of the community. So it's just starting having a performance to start a discussion, and people the people see themselves.
These are all of our groups that we run, whether they're run in a local theatre in Paynton, or that some of them are in church halls, or sort of local spaces that are very easy to get to for local young people. John is a founding member of Zamaleo Act, an East Africa Centre for Artistic Excellence, specialised in participatory educational theatre and the annual Storytelling Festival, which has been running for over a decade.
Like our base area is in Nairobi, but our work goes also to the coast. Zamaleo is a Swahili word, which means it's a coinage of two Kiswahili words, zamani and leo. Zamani is a long time ago, and leo is today. So mostly we borrow from the past and make it relevant to our current world. So we've been using stories, traditional stories for intervention to the contemporary social challenges. Our vision and mission is a harmonious social coexistence celebrated through expressive cultural arts, and to be a leading center of the creative performing arts in East Africa. Like Zamaleo to be a base and to be a leading center, because most of our work, we are based in Nairobi, but we work in Uganda, Tanzania, and also Ethiopia. And recently we've been working in Somalia. And the school's Orecha program is one of our biggest programs because we come in with the oral storytelling. And it's mandatory for the schools to watch because they are examined. The second program is the Encounter with Fantasy. It's for the smaller ones. Children of different levels will be trained on how to interpret their world through the use of language and other supralinguistic expressive modes. They are those taken through a process of taking a voyage into Wonderland, which is closely linked with their own world surrounding them, teaching them about life skills, knowing yourself, knowing others, and their ability of decision making. For them, it's pure fun play. And the stories that we use for this level they're quite interactive, whereby there is song and dance. There's a lot of play within the story. One of the main programs we do is we organize the Sigana International Storytelling Festival. We have a platform for international tellers to come and have a performance, and we have a discussion, and the festival tours schools. It's a platform whereby now we can get the Kenyan audience to interact with an international storyteller. So that is an inroad through the festival.
Doorstep Arts is a non-profit arts education organisation based in Torbay. We believe that all children's voices and stories matter and deserve to be listened to. We believe that all children deserve to be able to access high-quality participatory arts. They have the right to see and make amazing and inspiring work, but on their own doorstep. We're a community interest company and we run 14 drama groups across the Bay and also are the creative education company in residence at the Palace Theatre in Paignton. We have young people ranging in age from our early years groups all the way up to 25, and they explore original ideas through drama process, play and imagination. And the groups provide safe educational spaces to experiment what it means to be an artist, and we take that seriously, and also to explore their own voice and really listen to what those young people say. We believe that we all make the story happen, that participation in the arts is a key part of working for social justice and equity. All of Doorstep's work is educational practice as action research, and this research explores pedagogy, performance and praxis with young people, and we treat them as co-researchers. Doorstep Arts is there for all children and young people, and our doors are open.
In the last couple of months, as part of the Co-Creating Change Network's International Commission, the young people and staff at Doorstep and Zamaleo have begun an online cultural exchange and sharing of professional practice and creative techniques. By exchanging videos of games, cultural norms and personal introductions, our young people have been in touch with one another, and we aim to grow this exchange and collaboration further in the next half of our work together. We're planning on facilitating each other's young people in creative drama and storytelling sessions very soon.
My name is Angelina. I am in grade 1. I stay in Bruno First 5. I am 10 years old. I like some dramas and some stories, and I like to teach you a game called Police and Roba. Thank you.
My name is Ndambi Mutua, a student at Kenyatta University in Kenya.
Hi, I'm Verity. I live in Paignton, which is part of Torbay.
My name is Sarah Mweni Kitonga from Nairobi, Kenya. I am a theatre lover and practitioner.
Sheko. That is saying story in Somali, so we respond with Sheko Harir, which means story come.
Dumbo.
My name is Pip and I live in Paignton.
Hi, my name is Njoki Kimwaki.
Sheko.
We have been observing each other's practice in creative sessions with our young people via Zoom and in the sharing of photos and videos, and we've also shared and discussed the nature and structure of our organisations and their practices.
For me, it was quite interesting, to observe a rehearsal, using the digital realm virtually, all the way from Nairobi, Kenya, and to one of the awesome rooms that you work with the youth. And it was very interesting, just to see how the way you and the youth work in a democratic process. Seeing the youth, how they lead the process, doing the drama exercise. I really felt it's a very inclusive space for having the youth to lead. I found it to be very, very interesting because I was, sometimes I would say while we were working with theatre, the director has all the say. That I am the director of this production. Every creative decision has to come from me. And if you want to produce if you want to talk, you can produce your own show. But those things. But it was good to see how the young people, you coach, how you say side coach in a way, because sometimes here while I'm working with the young youth. They normally look at you they look at John or look at Jade to have all the answers. But maybe their input is they might have a creative idea. So having them to work by themselves and then they showcase. Also, it enhances teamwork.
When you've only ever worked in England in the theatre world, you have obviously a very particular way that you think everything is done all the time. So for me, it was so interesting to hear questions from John and actually make me properly reflect about what was happening, what Doorstep do, how we work in the UK. So for me, when they played Splat, John said to me, we have a variation called, I think it's called One Goes Down. And a variation of our game Splat. And like that for me was like really interesting to see how games like translate across the world. And for me, it's the same with like rock, paper, scissors. And John was saying like that's a game that the kids love over there. And that was really interesting, like for me to hear that. And John said as well, like, you know, like grandmother's footsteps. And I was like, yeah, that's a common game here too. Like there was so many similarities, and I was like, oh, it's just like really exciting for me to like hear about those similarities in like just the games and little things. And it's the same in the observation with you, John, when they were singing Baby Shark, because that's such a massive thing here. And I just like, you know, and you just don't realise how like connected everyone is all the time. And those kind of similarities for me, and it just made it all like really, really exciting. And it's nice to be reminded of that and be able to see practice in other countries, because that's something I've never been able to see before.
Firstly, I love that you were outdoors and you had a really beautiful sunny day and you were all able to be there. And all your Halloween costumes, it's just really similar to the Halloween costumes we would wear over here as well, which I thought was really interesting. But what I really loved was that you had the drum setup, and the music was, you used that through the whole session. It was almost like it was a soundtrack for your workshop, and improvising. He was kind of improvising, wasn't he, the musician, with what you were doing and what the children were doing. Even letting the children have a go. It was lovely when the camera went round and they were doing it themselves and really enjoying playing on the drums. That was really lovely. But the other thing that really stood out to me was, so we're going on a bear hunt, but you were saying we're going on a lion hunt. And I just loved it. And it was all relative to your culture as opposed to over here. So I just really loved the variations. And I've done sessions with the group that Laura runs. I used to run, and I've done sessions so similar with the actions and getting the children to create their own adventures. And it just, that made me smile. So many similarities, but slightly different, that I really enjoyed watching that. Polly was like, oh, everyone's speaking in English. She was really surprised that the session was being led in English. But what I was really interested in was how you were bringing in Swahili words and that language, and getting the children to keep talking in Swahili. And
yes, because normally for us here, we speak two major languages, Kiswahili and English. We also speak our other languages, mother tongue, but at home or in the rural area. So like most of the kids know English. For the setup we had with the workshop with the kids, they are English speakers. Their Kiswahili is very little, so we'll just go to English. When we're in a normal primary school working with the kids, we go in Kiswahili, because like you look at your audience, what language suits them. Like we'll work in Kiswahili also, because sometimes when English is being given a platform, but also Kiswahili is local. So we also need to promote. Like you'll find in our stories, we move from different languages. Kiswahili, English, or the song can be in mother tongue.
Yeah, that was fascinating to see you go between that and to hear the children talking and trying out those Swahili and trying out different ways of talking.
The young ones, like, it was so, I can't explain how joyful it was to watch. Like you could see the joy coming off every single one of their faces. They had so much energy, and it felt like they had a lot of freedom, which is something that, like, a different kind of freedom to the freedom that we give the young people at Doorstep. Like there was just something, I don't know if it's because it was outside as well, but there was something so freeing and just about watching them all and the way they were. And it's like they felt so comfortable to be free and to be joyful, and to, like, they were so engaged in what you were doing. Like it was just so beautiful to watch. Like for me, I learned a lot from watching your storytelling, because that's not really something I've done a lot of, like, working ever on, that just sort of that traditional oral storytelling as a practice, and like sitting there telling a story rather than, you know, putting on a show or, you know, making a performance or doing it in a different kind of way. So for me, I learned so much from just observing you and how you made your stories interesting, how you engaged the young people by getting them to do actions and to repeat words, like stuff that I didn't even think of, that's so simple, that then made them feel like they were a part of that story and like made them more engaged. So like for me, that was like really useful for me to see.
Because the kids, they love repetition. They will always wait, okay, they will pick it, and it becomes like a jig. It's an interesting experience to have an observer like like they are looking. Oh, someone is observing us from the digital. Yeah.
The joy in your session was just amazing to see. I had my mouth was hurting at the end because my cheeks were hurting because I was smiling so much. I couldn't stop smiling. It was so lovely to see them.
Our growing partnership is keen to investigate issues faced by local young people in each community, integrating appreciation of one's own heritage and culture, sharing societal, political and cultural similarities and differences, appreciating the stories and contributions from other cultures, and exchanging best practice of our community co-creation work and creative processes with young people.
Yeah, so that was a kind of just little snapshot into what we've done so far and how we've been working. So we've been joining in with each other's sessions. So when John came to our session, he introduced himself to all the children and young people with the older ones as well. And so there's been this really lovely exchange. And we just feel like this is just the beginning of our process.
You're back, Jade. You popped up.
I'm back. Yeah. If anyone else wanted to say anything about that.
Yeah, I think for me, we all feel like there's so much more that we can do from this point on. So we've got to a really exciting point, and we've had some really interesting discussions. And we had one the other week, actually. I don't think we ended up recording, but we were talking about kind of our political landscapes and sort of what our communities are like and how the politics of our areas affect our communities and people's opinions, and some of the similarities actually between Kenya and between Nairobi and where we are as well. And I think there's some really interesting sort of crossovers there. And for me, I think both Doorstep and Zamaleo, we do work around advocacy in the community and activism and empowering voices and telling stories that sort of show parallels to our wider sort of societal systems. And I'm kind of really interested in seeing how we can do more skill sharing around how we empower those voices in our communities and how we perform acts of activism in creative ways and in storytelling ways, and explore sort of political performances and storytelling in community spaces. So I'm really interested in doing a little bit more of that kind of exchange in our work, and that aspect of our co-creation in our communities. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm really excited to do going forwards, and see how actually we can collaborate in some of those acts and maybe create that kind of work together. But yeah, sort of continuing thinking about basically how art and performance and storytelling can empower and educate and create social change and kind of advocate for social justice and for the people in our communities that we care about so much. So I think that's kind of what's really interesting for me going forwards, and the similarities and differences in our sort of political landscapes and the activism and the work we do co-creating in our communities. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. But I know we had a couple of other ideas of things that we would like to do together, John or Jade. I don't know if you want to comment.
Yes, because like it's very interesting, like how we were working through digital. For me, I would like to, we continue with the observation sessions with our different groups that we work with, and also see how the teams that we've been working with, how can they gel, like the young people in Torbay and in Kenya, how can they also continue the co-creating change discussion and maybe create something together. We might be in remotely, we can create things remotely, and also see maybe these teams might gel together in future and do something.
Yeah, I'm also, I think looking into the like really far in the future, I would really like to lean back into Future Health Africa as well, and kind of co-create with the health sector. And that charity is, what I love about that charity is it's not about parachuting work in, it's working in collaboration with the community and genuinely co-creating so that it's sustainable. It's more of a sustainable model. So it's and more of a skill exchange and learning from one another, which I think is really powerful. And I think that's something, if we can lean back into that, there is we met in some of our in one of our conversations previously with John and I, we met with a woman called, was it Josephine, John? Was that her name?
Yeah, Josephine.
Yeah, Josephine. And she works in her communities with Future Health Africa, talking to young women, again, about keeping and ensuring to stay in education, but also kind of exploring and supporting young women through female genital mutilation, and kind of having those discussions and conversations around that, and opening up dialogue. And I just think there's some really powerful work being done, and I think we can learn so much in the UK from some of the work that's being done over there, and applying that to practice over here. I think that's really crucial. I don't know if there's anything anyone else wants to say before we open up to a Q&A, if anyone has any questions. But yeah, does Amy and John want to say anything else before we kind of see if anyone wants to?
Process of learning together, like when we're doing this project, I learned that we have so much similarities between UK and Kenya in the education system, and also in the way we do things as an organization. Like we co-parent together. Like Doorstep has a very interesting strand of co-parenting, and also like in Zamaleo, we also do have co-parenting. So I saw so much similarities.
I'd be really interested to know what in Zamaleo, John, what you do in terms of, you say that you also do co-parenting. Like, how does that look for you?
Yes, for co-parenting, mostly we take in a young person and mentor him or her on storytelling. We go with him or her in any of our shows. Also, how we make the shows in the workshops. How when we go to do jobs, and also in our meetings, like we mentor in a kind of a mentor, and the mentorship has been very well, like over the 3 years working with the Somali community. So we mentor yearly a young person to co-create change.
Yeah, and do those young people work within the organization as well?
Yes, they do. They do work within the organizations, within our organization, in terms of like performing. Sometimes we have performances that they go and do, and also like also in our departments, whereby like publicity, they help in creating poster, and also creating plans when you are going for a job, or for when you are working with a client. So they help in creating plans, and also the young people are very good in digital and social media, in terms of publicizing our work online. So they do work. We have like them attached with us to work with us.
Fantastic. Yeah, so any questions from anyone in the session? I'm not sure if there are many, but it'd be great to hear any.
I got loads of questions, hopefully someone else. And that I just wanted to say I love the film, and I just love the idea of an international exchange, particularly happening digitally. I'm not sure it's a question, but it feels like we are. I gave a speech at the start of the week, which spoke about us all being in code red and moving forward. And Amy, particularly liked hearing you talk about activism. And it feels to me like people flying and traveling is just going to get much less. How do we manage? And I think it probably should. So how do we manage these incredible international collaborations, and how can we sort of keep pushing for change and activism? And I'd really like to hear about your plans for moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the question. And I think also so much responsibility is put on the individual or smaller organisations to make choices like that and to make those decisions. And I think that's so important. At the same time, we need sort of bigger governmental, large-scale legislation and change put in to make some of those bigger changes that we need. I think often a lot of the responsibility falls on us as individuals to make those choices. But I think already this collaboration has shown that so much can be done through the digital. I mean, obviously, we've had a conversation between me, Jade and John and I about the fact that being online and having your camera on, and the power that takes up just to generate digitally also creates its own emissions, and it's so tricky. I think finding the best way forwards, but for me, I think definitely we've been able to do so much with the digital so far, and without it, you know, we wouldn't have been able to collaborate at all. So where we've got to in our process, being able to observe, even if the quality isn't always the best, even if John's got his rooster in the background, you know what I mean?
Always on time with the rooster.
It's created its own beauty in that way. So I think there's so much power to the digital and what we've been able to do so far. And I do feel like we would love to visit in person at some point, but what the power of this has been able to do is that can be one trip compared to the amount of times we've spoken. If that was a flight every time we'd done that would be, ridiculous amounts of visits. So obviously the digital enables us to collaborate in that sense, and reduce that sort of carbon footprint in a much bigger way. But a lot of the stuff that we do at Doorstep Arts is around environmental advocacy, and that's some of the sort of co-creation work that we've been doing. We sort of saw a snippet of it, I think, in the film when Jade was talking about our protest and rebellion project, which sort of worked with our young people to create sort of performance protest in the streets of Torbay in Devon, and look to opening conversations around what is protest, what is happening with our planet, what is the climate crisis and the climate emergency, and how can we talk about this, and how can we use our power as artists to be activists and create change with the tools that we know, and empowering those young people to realise they already have the tools to have their voices heard, and we just help amplify that. So that's sort of some of the work that Doorstep does around that, and I think that is key to sort of amplifying the younger voices in our communities that are ready to have their voices heard on these things, and we do other projects that sort of empower our community to go and do some of the smaller tasks, like picking up litter on their doorstep. We have a clean up your doorstep campaign, but we're sort of working on making a little bit bigger as well. And so those are the kind of like political things that we do, and activism that we do. And I think we're quite a socially engaged organisation anyway at Doorstep. Sort of social justice is one of our key themes, and one of the things that's very intrinsically linked in what we do. And that's what was so exciting to see with John, and that sort of the advocacy work that he does and Zamaleo does in the community, and how the stories he tells echo a wider picture, and the power of the way that people will engage with a story or laugh and open themselves to hearing more about these kind of sort of political topics or environmental climate crisis stories, but through storytelling is just such a powerful way of doing it. And I feel like the more that we're able to do that and use art and storytelling to create changes is so important. It makes a massive, massive difference, as I'm sure we all know. But yeah, Jade and John, I don't know if there's anything else you want to say on that. I've spoken for way too long, but yeah, that's my sort of weird answer to that.
Yeah. I have one more question, which is the commission was a relatively small amount of money, and if it would been considering flights, it probably wouldn't have covered it. And for this session will be shared afterwards for funders and maybe larger arts organisations. Like, do you think having small commissions to enable international conversation are a good thing? Would you like to see more of them?
100%, definitely. Undoubtedly. Yeah, definitely. It's just given us some time. It's just given us that time to, because John and I had already been talking, but we've been able to bring Amy in. We've been able to kind of make it big, talk to more people and engage more people just by having that little bit of money to give us a bit more time. I don't know if John wants to say something. I think you were going to say something, John. Sorry.
I think it's great to have these small commissions. Will help like people to co-create change. And do you have it the same time every year?
No, this has been the first ever, and I don't know if it will happen again. But
Please do more.
I feel like the question of are these small commissions to enable conversation around really big things useful for arts organisations, and do they bring us closer together? Feels like a wider question to the arts industry and particularly to funders. So
it just gives you that time to talk and to understand each other and get to know one another. So if one day John does come to the UK, or if we can go to Africa, that those relationships have already been built over time. And I think thinking in the long term, kind of sustainable ways, I just think they're really powerful. Even if it is a small pot, it goes a long way, I personally feel.
Great.
Yeah.
Because also one interesting thing is that with the small commission is good, giving us time to talk about our work. I think Amy mentioned it, because most of the time while we're dealing with a partner, we jump into the making performances, but we don't get time to. It's like dating. So yeah, with these small commissions help people to talk. I like the format, not creating something, but talking about your work and stuff. So it will help a lot.
Yeah, and it kind of gives you an idea of whether you think that you will be able to collaborate and work together in the future. It's like, actually, is this going to work? Is this something we want to do without the big investment from an organization? So it's always like if you can prove that to a funder for a bigger fund, it's like, well, here you go. We know that we work well together. We know it's pretty solid. It's bulletproof. We know that we've got an aspiration and our vision is the same, and we want to create something together. We know because we've had these conversations beforehand. It's kind of like a security, I guess, in some ways, and proof to show that you're doing that and you can do that. So we definitely want to go and apply for some more money to kind of turn this into something bigger. But yeah, this has been such a helpful step towards that, definitely.
Great. I'd love to talk to you all for ages, but I'm wondering if anyone else has got any questions. And we can definitely finish early because it is lunchtime. So if people want to go and have lunch, they of course can. I'm going to behave like Carol Vorderman. This might be a reference you don't know, John.
Okay.
A program. Yeah, it's called Countdown.
Countdown. Okay. But it's also interesting to be working between times. Like you find in Kenya, we are 3 hours ahead. And sometimes you'll find the UK clock changes with 1 hour. So it was it's really interesting to work between times. Yeah, it was fun. It was really, really, really fun.
Yeah, we got confused about that. we had a time problem at one point. When the clock.
For us, we wished if we could also be changing the clock and add 1 hour, but here it's constant.
One of the many great things about our country, John. Okay, I'm going to do the little theme tune that everyone knows, apart from John, but you can go and check it out. Any more questions? Woo! Thanks. It was really lovely to see you all, and yeah, I'm so pleased, and it would be great to go to Kenya, but yeah.
You're welcome.
John, you'd be very, very welcome in the UK, of course.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Take care, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Bye.